Okay, guys, here's Cole. All right, we're starting the walkthrough.
So yeah, it's a great home. I didn't find anything that I consider to be out of the ordinary. It's all pretty much normal stuff for a home this size and age and condition. There's two things that are kind of related to age that you just kind of want to be aware of. First off, your roof, it's called a built-up roof or tar and gravel roof. There's not really a good way to estimate the age on those. So I would do what I can to work with the sellers to find out if they know when that roof was last done. Tar and gravel roofs tend to have about a 20-year lifespan. After 20 years, they tend to start having issues. And so if it's near or past that 20 years, you're going to want to consider getting it redone so that you don't have any issues with that. In addition to that, you do have a very old furnace. You guys have two separate furnaces, one for the addition and one for the main home. The one for the main home is getting towards the end of its life. The one for the addition is like 34 years old. It's way past its lifespan. I imagine that it doesn't get used nearly as much because the main home, its heat moves into the addition as well. Plus they have that wood burning stove in there that they've probably used. So where the furnace for the addition hasn't been used as much is probably why it's lasted 30 plus years. And it's possible it could continue to last, but yeah, I do want you to be aware that when they're that old, there's a good chance that you'll be replacing that furnace within the next few years.
Okay, excellent.
So those are kind of the two main big items. Everything else is pretty normal, standard for a home this size and age.
Excellent. Okay.
So starting out here on the front, you guys have brick siding all the way around on the original portion of the house. Brick siding is fantastic. Tends to last for really. I've done inspections on homes built in the 1800s, and the brick siding was still going strong. I mean, we rarely see major issues with brick siding. You do have some typical cracks in your porch and in your driveway. Cracks on flat surfaces like that are generally not a cause for concern. In fact, the main reason I put them in the report is because I don't want you guys seeing the cracks after you move in and then freaking out about it. I just want to put it in the report so you know that they're not a big issue. As long as they're not a trip hazard or settled in a way that directs water towards the foundation of the house, they're considered just cosmetic. Garage door area, everything checked out. I didn't have any issues there. You do have an outlet over there that's not GFCI protected. So GFCI outlets are the ones with that test and reset button like you see in bathrooms. Any outlet that's within 6 feet of water should be a GFCI outlet. So that includes exterior, garage, kitchens, bathrooms, places like that.
Okay.
If we move around to the side of the home here. For the garage and for the addition to the house, you have aluminum siding. Aluminum is fantastic in that it basically never goes bad. So the aluminum siding should last indefinitely. You do have a couple spots towards the base where that aluminum has become a little bit loose. They've probably run into it with a weed whacker or a lawnmower or something like that. I would just recommend getting that nailed down again so that you don't have any kind of issues with bugs or plants getting behind there. Your main electric for the house is right here. I did take the cover off so we could look at the wiring in here, and I did have an issue with the wiring here. If you can get really close in there, so you can see that you have two wires going into the one breaker, and these smaller wires are undersized for a 100 amp service. There's no evidence of any kind of melting or overheating right now, but this is considered a fire hazard because it could overheat these smaller wires and cause a fire. So we do recommend having that looked at and repaired by a qualified electrician. We'll get that cover back on before I leave. The deck and steps, for the most part, check out. You do have a couple items that are not up to the current code. When this was built, it was fine, but the current safety standards have changed. So the main one that I have marked here is that you have this gap between the steps here that's more than 4 inches. that's considered large enough that a small crawling baby could crawl through and fall down. If there's not going to be any small crawling babies here, then I'm not concerned about that.
Okay.
The same concern for the balusters here. These are wide enough, again, that a small crawling baby could fit through. If there's not going to be small crawling babies, then again, I'm not worried about it.
Okay.
I did mark the plants on the back of the house here. You have a lot of them that are actually touching the siding. In general, we don't like to have plants touching siding of the house because it can create an entry point for insects and it holds water up against the siding. So we just prefer to see the back side of those plants trimmed back so they're not touching the house. Go down into the bonus storage space or extra basement. I'm not sure what we're calling this.
Yeah, I would say. Yeah. Extra. Yeah. Storage.
So everything down here has been done properly. It's really nice to see an addition that was done properly and safely. You have good supports all the way around. Your foundation is in good shape. No evidence of any kind of cracks or major leaks or anything like that. I lived in the Houston area for a few years, and so I'm aware that often the homes there are kind of sinking down into the ground. Here in northern Utah, that's almost never an issue. The soil here is fantastic for homes. If a home's going to settle, it usually does in the first 5 to 10 years of the life of the house and then never again. It's extremely rare to have any kind of issues like that, and I don't see any evidence of any kind of foundation shifting or sinking or anything like that in this case. The furnace here. So this furnace is from, I want to say it was 87. Yeah, it was 87, which means that's probably when this addition was done. Was back in the late 80s. The furnace that puts it at 34 years old. That's the one we talked about at the front of the house. Furnaces are generally warranted for 10 years and expected to last for 20. So again, you are well past the life expectancy for this furnace. Where it's not getting used as often because it's just for the addition. If you're lucky, it'll keep going, but keep in mind it's probably getting towards the end of its life. Everything else down here, I don't have any other issues. Just so you're aware, this right here is your sprinkler system control box. Sprinkler systems are not part of the inspection, and in addition to that, in the winter, they're all winterized anyway, so we wouldn't be able to test it even if we wanted to. But just so you're aware that's where you'll control the sprinkler system. See you outside.
I'll just grab the key here so we've got it up ready.
Yeah.
Okay.
So in addition to having 2 furnaces for the house, you do have 2 AC condensers for the house as well. One for the main part of the house and then one for the addition. This one right here is very likely the one for the main part of the house. It's 17 years old. Just like furnaces, AC condensers have a warranty for 10 years and then they're expected to last for 20. So again, you are getting towards the end of its life. It should last you a few more years, but keep in mind that 20-year life expectancy does exist for a reason. They do tend to start having issues. This one right here, the Bryant, that is probably for the addition, and this one is only 2 years old. It's 2019, so you have a lot of good life left on this one. We can't operate these when the temperatures are below 65 degrees because it can actually cause damage to the units, but everything's installed properly and there's no reason for me to believe that they won't operate fine. I did call out your downspouts here. That little elbow there only kicks the water a couple inches away, so you're essentially still just dropping water right next to your foundation. Water next to the foundation is not necessarily bad. They are designed to be watertight. But if we can put an extension tube and pull the water away, then it's definitely not going to be next to the foundation, so it'll definitely not be an issue. And then over here, this right here is your main gas meter and shutoff. Vast majority of homeowners never have to touch one of these. Worst case scenario, like we have a major earthquake or something like that, if you come out here with a wrench, you can turn this here so the hole down there comes up and lines up with the hole right there, and then it'll be shut off. Like I said, it's very unlikely you'll ever have to do that. And that is everything on the exterior.
Okay.
All right, so here in the interior, starting off in the addition, the bonus room here, all the outlets are wired properly. Windows did operate just fine. Ceilings, floors, and walls are in good shape, so I didn't have any issues there. That ceiling fan, just so you're aware, it does operate from the remote that they have over here, and the switch for it is just inside the other room there. So if that switch is turned off, then the ceiling fan won't operate. The wood burning stove, we obviously don't have time during an inspection to start a fire and make sure everything's functional on that. We do just recommend, if you're going to use it to burn wood, that you have it properly cleaned by a chimney cleaner, just because we don't know what previous owners have burned in there, and if they burned the wrong stuff, you could have dangerous chemical buildups inside of it. If you're not planning on keeping it, those do fetch a pretty good price on the local classifieds. If you're just not into the wood burning stuff. The kitchen, we always run the dishwasher through a full cycle. You can see down here that it did not leak while it operated. No water down there. If we pull it open, you can see that the soap drawer did open. There's no standing water. Everything's draining like it should. So everything's functioning on dishwasher just like it should. The sink, I do run each faucet in the house for a minimum of 10 minutes. On the kitchen, I run each side for 10 minutes so we can definitely catch any leaks if they exist. There was no evidence of any kind of leaks. The faucet is properly secured. The spray attachment works, so everything on here is functioning like it should. The disposal did operate with no issues. Cupboards and drawers in here all operated. The fridge does operate just fine, so I didn't have any issues there. The outlets in the kitchen, because again we are one of the locations where we're close to water, these outlets should be GFCI protected, and in this case they're not. So we do recommend getting these outlets upgraded to GFCI.
Okay.
On the other side, again, cupboards and drawers did all operate correctly. The oven, all 4 burners did come on and operated. The oven came on and up to temperature, so I did not have any issues there. Even though this one's a little further away from the water, every outlet in the kitchen should be GFCI protected, so we do recommend upgrading this one as well.
Okay.
That's everything here. In the dining space, as you can see, ceiling fan does operate. Outlet was in good condition. I didn't have any issues there. So everything checked out in here. The living room space. Note that there is no overhead light here in the living room. That's actually very common in living rooms. When they do that, they usually have at least one outlet that's attached to a switch so that you can operate it with the switch. And in this case, it's this outlet right here. It's probably not the most convenient outlet, but you can have a lamp on that one, and then the switch right here will operate that switch, or that outlet. Your home was built before it was required to ground outlets, so you do have several outlets around the house that are ungrounded. However, on the main floor, they actually attached all of these outlets to GFCI breakers down in the main panel. And if they're GFCI protected, that's actually considered up to safety standards. So even though they're ungrounded, they are considered safe because they are attached to that GFCI breaker down in the panel. This window here is a fixed window, so we don't have to worry about opening that. It's in good shape. I did not have any issues. And then I did put a general comment the popcorn ceiling throughout the main floor potentially could have asbestos in it. It's common for popcorn ceilings to have asbestos. Asbestos is not considered dangerous if you never touch it, or not even touch it. You actually have to like scrape it and break it. If you scrape it and break it, that's when it becomes airborne and is considered dangerous. If you never do that, then it's not considered dangerous. What that basically means for you, if you're okay with the popcorn ceiling, then it's not considered dangerous ever. If you guys decide that you would prefer have like a smooth ceiling, so you want to scrape all that popcorn off, at that point you would definitely want to have it tested, and you would want to have it removed by a professional if it does have asbestos in it. Yeah.
And you can do the test real quick.
And we can do a test today, yeah, to make sure.
Okay, cool.
Down here in the hallway area, in the bathroom, again, your outlets here are GFCI protected. Instead of operating with this GFCI, this is basically all the outlets on the main floor are attached down to those GFCI breakers. So if this goes out, then you have to go down to the panel and hit the reset there instead of right here. The ceiling fan in here does operate just fine. I did not have any issues. Keep in mind that exhaust fan, its main purpose is to pull steam from the shower. So when there's a shower operating, we do recommend having that fan turned on so that it can pull that steam out of the bathroom and reduce any kind of water damage from steam. Sink did operate, no issues there. The toilet was nice and secure. I did not have any problems there. Shower operated and no evidence of any kind of leaking. I did mark under the sink that you have evidence of past leaking. You can see those stains on the wall there. I did run this sink for a good 10 minutes and there was no evidence of any new leaks. It stayed dry the entire time. So what that indicates is that whatever issue caused that leak has very likely been repaired. We recommend, if you have the ability to find out from the sellers if they have any kind of history on that repair, it was probably a bad faucet that they had to replace, and that probably took care of it. In the bedrooms, for the most part, bedrooms checked out just fine. Your outlets are wired properly. You do have smoke detectors up above the doors in all the bedrooms. Closets operated, windows operated, didn't have any issues there. The main issue that I had with the bedrooms in general is that they are missing door stops for the doors. So if the kids slam doors open, you're going to end up with dents in the walls or even holes. This one right here where they have this, they don't actually have a mechanism for locking the top portion of the door. So if this is a room that someone's going to need privacy in, you'll probably want a mechanism for that, or just replace the door with a standard door. Same thing for this bedroom, everything pretty much checked out. I would like to see door stops. Other than that, you do have your smoke detectors, outlets are good, windows operated. I really didn't have any other issues in here. So. And then again for the master bedroom, same thing. Your outlets are good, you do have your smoke detectors, ceilings, floors, and walls are good, so no real issues in here. In the master bathroom, again, no evidence of any kind of leaks here. Your outlet, again, is GFCI protected, but again, instead of using that outlet, it uses the breakers down in the main panel. This toilet I did have to call out because it's very loose. You can see it swivels around quite a bit. There's no evidence of any current leaks right now, but when they're loose like that, they're more prone to develop a leak. So we do recommend getting it properly tightened down so that doesn't become a leak in the future. Window did operate in here. Note that you do not have an exhaust fan in this room, so we do recommend propping the window open during showers so that the steam has somewhere to go. And then they kind of did this shower a little different. Because you do have a tub in here, but they don't have a faucet for the tub. You could easily replace this with something that's lower down. Have a plumber install a tub faucet if you desire to use this as a tub. Apparently, the previous owners just wanted it for a shower. So. Just so you're aware, this right here is kind of a relic from the past. That's from when they used to have swamp coolers. That's where the swamp cooler duct would have been to blow cold air throughout the house. It hasn't probably had a swamp cooler for decades. If you wanted to refinish the ceiling, you could, but again, we would have the issue of the asbestos if that test does come back positive. On the stairway here, I did have to call out that again, these balusters are spaced wide enough that kids could fall through, small crawling babies. And then also this handrail is actually lower than the railing here is lower than it should be. They should be at least 34 inches off the ground. This one's right about 31 inches. If you were to lean up against it, you would feel like it's not quite high enough to support an average adult body.
Okay.
So we prefer to see a little bit higher. So in the family room down here, everything checked out. Outlets are wired properly, no issues there. Ceilings, floors, and walls are good. A little outdated, but they're in great shape. You have your cupboards here. These are not actual drawers here. There's nothing up above that space. And then over here, so normally. Set up. Normally this is right here, so you have additional counter space. But if you take this off, this took a few minutes to figure out. You have a door for under your stairs, and this is where your main water shutoff is. So the trick to opening this is you have to push it in the center, and then it unlocks it, and then you can pull it open. That right there is your main water shutoff, and then the one above it is the shutoff to your hose bib out front. You can see that the hose is shut off right now, but the main water is turned on. I didn't have any evidence of any kind of corrosion or leaking or water issues there, so everything there looks really good. And you push it in the center to lock it again. Here in the bedroom, so I did have to call out the windows. This is a minor thing. They're not considered egress windows. They're definitely big enough to be an egress. So an egress window is a window that's big enough and positioned correctly that an average person could easily climb out if there was a fire. And these are definitely big enough. They're not considered low enough to be an egress window.
And when this was built, probably.
When this was built, they were totally fine. You're grandfathered in. No one will ever make you change the windows. Like the city will never care or make you change it because you are grandfathered in. I'm more concerned just about the practical use. If someone's permanently sleeping down here, make sure that they are either big enough that they can climb up there or that you have some method, whether it be the bed right next to it or a chest of drawers, something they can climb on to climb out that window.
Gotcha.
And then I'm happy. So, other than that, everything else checked out in here. Outlets are good. Ceilings, floors, and walls are good. You do have your smoke detector. Windows did operates. Closet operates. Everything really checks out. Then in here, basically the same issue. That window is just a little too high off the ground to be considered an egress window. So if someone's sleeping down here, just make sure they have a method for climbing up so they can get out that window. This one on this side, I did have to call out because it looks like they caulked it shut. So I couldn't budge that at all to get this one open. That one there does open, and you are required only to have at least one opening window in a bedroom, so that still does count as your opening window. So kind of odd. This outlet right here on this wall in the northwest bedroom of the basement is wired incorrectly. So they have the hot wire and the neutral wires switched. So we call that reverse polarity, and you'll definitely want to have an electrician fix that if you don't feel comfortable fixing an outlet yourself. It's a simple fix. You basically pull the outlet out, you swap the wires, and then you push it back in, and you're good to go. But if you don't feel comfortable with that, you'll definitely want to have an electrician do that. The Lennox furnace here matches the Lennox AC condenser out there. They're both the same age. So again, this one is 17 years old, just like the one outside. Furnaces, just like AC units, warranted for 10, expected to last for 20. So this is getting towards the end of its life. It is one of those, if it's not broke, don't fix it type things. I mean, your other furnace is 34 years old and still going. If you're lucky, this one will get that old too. But keep in mind that 20-year life expectancy does exist for a reason. You are likely to have parts start having issues at this point. It is functioning fine right now, though. It's keeping the house nice and warm. I didn't have any other issues with it, just that it's a little bit old. The water heater is a 2009, which puts it at 12 years old. Water heaters are generally warranted for 6 years, and then they're recommended to be replaced after around 8 or 9. So you are past the expected life by the manufacturer. I often see them last quite a bit longer. My personal recommendation is don't go past 15 years. So in a few years, you'll want to proactively replace this. And you do want to be more proactive on the water heaters than you do on the furnaces or AC units, because these do have the possibility of leaking, or even, if the interior tank is really rusted out, it could burst and flood your basement. So that's why by about 15 years, we do want to see these getting replaced so that you can avoid any major issues with them. I did have to call out that you are missing earthquake straps on here, and that you are missing your expansion tank. On the earthquake straps, that's a very simple install. The expansion tank, I would probably wait until I replace this, and then I would do an expansion tank. The bathroom down here. This GFCI actually does operate for this bathroom. No evidence of any leaks. Toilet was nice and secure. Shower operated just fine. Your window does work down here, and again, you don't have an exhaust fan, so we do recommend opening that window during showers. So everything in here pretty much checked out. The washer and dryer space. I just want to point out that you only have electric hookup, not gas. So you want to make sure you have an electric dryer, not a gas one. Most people in Utah have electric. I'm not sure what it's like down in Texas. I know California mostly does gas, so that's sometimes an issue. And then this right here is your main electric panel. I took the cover off. We'll put that back on before we leave. Even though you're really packed in with all that wiring, it's all done properly. They're the proper size for the breakers they're on. Nothing's double tapped or evidence of any kind of fire hazard, so it looks good. These ones right here, so like this one and then these ones right here are those GFCI breakers that are for the outlets upstairs. So if you don't have power on any of your lights or your outlets, those ones are the ones that got tripped and need to be reset. So in this basement kind of storage or utility space, this back wall right here, you have that outlet right there, and then this one over here that are also that reverse polarity, so that where the hot and the neutral are switched on them. So these outlets also are going to need to have that fixed up. And then here in the garage, the switches for the garage doors are, you have one right here and you have one right there. Both garage door openers did function. The one on the right here there's a safety mechanism that as that garage door is coming down, if it runs into something, it should feel that pressure and go back up. The one on the left operated fine. The one on the right did not do that. So that's a very old model. It may not have that functionality. If that's the case, then the only way to get it would be to replace it. The sensors down at the bottom though are in the correct position, and they did work on both garage door openers. I want to say it was this outlet here. Let me check again real quick. I want to say this one is also wired. Yeah, this one right here is also wired backwards. So there's the one in the bedroom, the two in that utility space, and then this one right here. That all three locations need to be fixed.
Okay.
And then you do have a sub panel over here. Again, I'll put the cover on before I leave, but the wiring in that sub panel was all done correctly. I did not have any kind of safety or fire concerns from that. The sink did operate well. The cold water operates just fine. I was not able to get the hot water to turn on, and it is turned on down below, so I'm not sure why that's not coming on.
Okay.
So that's something worth asking them about. And that's everything. That's the entire inspection. Like I said, most of these items are actually considered normal for a house this age. If you were going to buy anything in this price range, in this age range, you're going to find very similar items. Just keep in mind that you're going to want to keep an eye on that roof, find out when it was put on so that you know when you're going to need to look at it again. And then you're going to want to keep an eye on those aging furnaces. They're getting towards the end of their life.